everyone. I'm your host, Brittany-Jones Cooper, and welcome back to Build. Anthony Ramos burst into the scene in 2015 in the Tony-winning Broadway musical Hamilton. His star rose quickly with roles in A Star is Born and She's Gotta Have It on Netflix. And now the singer and songwriter is here to talk about his debut album, The Good and the Bad, where he opens up about growing up in New York, chasing his dreams, and finding love. Put your hands together for Anthony Ramos, guys.
What's up? What's up?
Is anybody else a little sweaty from watching that video? Have you by chance checked out the comment section on YouTube for this music video you made with your fiance, Jasmine Cephas-Jones?
Did, yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted to be authentic. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think about the feedback? Because, I mean, as far as this being your debut album and this being the video that you kind of break through with, you guys made an impact.
Hopefully, right? Yeah, no, it was dope. People were like, I wasn't ready, and all types of. They were like, oh my gosh, they're all grown up. Right. I was like, yeah, we are. We're like.
People were feeling their feelings about it. And people love you guys, I mean, together. So I think just seeing your couple and your love like that was so nice of you to share, I think, first of all. What was the idea behind that video and why'd you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it was Jasmine's idea. Yeah, Jasmine was like, I was like, yeah, so, Jazz, I think we're gonna make a video for this song. She's like, well, who you doing it with? I was like, oh, well, I mean, I don't know. She's like, well, you ain't making that with no video vixen. Like, you doing that with me. What you think this is? I was like, all right, then, let's go. Happy wife, happy life. Right? I guess let's go. Let me know when you're available.
Yeah. There's no way she could hear the lyrics in that song and let somebody else do it. You know what I mean?
Nah.
But I love that song, and it's just like one of the many hits on the album. So congrats. Yesterday I was, it was rainy here in New York, and I put on your album, and just all day I was listening to it, cleaning my house, and it just kind of like is a lot of songs that you could sit with. So take me back to the beginning. When did you start working on it?
So we wrote this album. We wrote like 21 songs in 30 days. It was, I went out to LA at the top of this year, and there was only supposed to be an EP. I signed with Republic Records at the top of the year, and days after I signed the deal, they flying out to LA to write to just write. It was like we didn't know what was gonna come of it, right? But we were like, we'll at least get an EP out of this writing trip. And I walked into my A&R's office, Wendy Goldstein in LA, and we're sitting there, and Wendy's jamming out to like the 13th song, and she's just like, honey, this is an album. This isn't a. She's like, this is an album, and I was like, jumped out of my seat. I was like, yeah. I was like, because I've been wanting to make an album forever, right? And and it was awesome. And then once I knew this was an album, I worked with my executive producer and one of my best friends, Will Wells. We worked on how do we make this a narrative? How do we not just make an album, but how do we make a story from beginning to end, with a beginning, middle, and end, with all this good stuff in between, and the album ended up becoming about a guy who thought he needed to leave home to figure out who he wanted to be in life, and then he goes through the good and the bad. That's where the name comes from. It's about all the stuff in between the good and the bad. He goes through the good and the bad to realize that in the final song, "Come Back Home," where he realizes maybe all the answers I ever needed in life were right in front of my face at home, but I had to leave to see how good I had it. Those are the lyrics. I had to go to know how good I had it. So would you have me if I come back home?
It is feels like an incredibly personal album, and I want to establish you grew up in East New York, right?
I grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Yeah,
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So
I hung out in East New York a lot.
Okay,
yeah.
So how did how you grew up, where you grew up, and kind of influence your sound and the sound that we hear in this album?
I mean, I grew up listening to hip hop a lot. Get Rich or Die Trying was one of my favorite albums. And, I thought the stories, songs like Benny Man and Wanksta, those like, that's like my, and I grew up listening to Jay-Z and, then was listening to like Rakim, and then I was listening, Houdini. Oh, you really want to take it back, 5 minutes of funk, so. But then I grew up listening to R&B and Usher, and John Legend's been one of my favorite artists forever, and still, I love his career. I love what, and just saw him and his family on the cover of Vanity Fair. I was like, yes, love wins, love wins. And you know, then I grew up listening to you know, Mark Anthony, you know, salsa, reggaeton, bachata, merengue, you know, Luis Enrique, Tito Rojas and Daddy Yankee, you know what I'm saying? So where I grew up influenced all those types of music were playing. And then, you know, obviously the top 40. You know, I'm listening to Nickelback and all these other cats that are on the radio, right? On top
Nickelback,
40.
really?
I mean, they were on the radio.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't burning through Nickelback albums, but I did This Is How You Remind. Come on, look, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you know.
We all know.
Yeah,
It's
right.
there,
you know, I mean, you know, and you get, I'm John Mayer. I love John Mayer. I love, you know, I'm influenced by so many, Barney Vare, you know, so, but where I grew up definitely influenced the music that you hear on this album for sure. I mean, there's all different types of music. Like a song called like Either Way, track 10. There's a real house vibe, and that vibe came from learning how to dance on the boardwalk in Coney Island. Anybody who's from New York or been to New York and knows the boardwalk, Coney Island, y'all know that there's all the OGs by the gazebo on the boardwalk, and all you can hear, no matter where you at in Coney Island, you hear the like you hear that music playing from wherever you are, and you're like, oh, they're getting down right now on the boardwalk. And I would, you know, with the baby powder on the board, and that's the inspiration for that song. That song was like my tipping my hat to the OGs who don't even know they taught me how to dance on the boardwalk, you know. So shout out to all of them from Coney Island, and thank you.
I love that a boy from Bushwick has his face up in Times Square. There's a photo that you posted on your Instagram that I grabbed. And just what does it mean for you being born and raised here and then just to have this moment?
Yeah, it was surreal. What's even more surreal was that this is the block that Hamilton is on. So I was like, they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna go visit your billboard. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Then I was like, yo, that's like 3 billboards. And then I was like, it's like 4.
It goes way up here.
Yo, that goes on. And I was like, yo, I bought mad underwear from that American Eagle. Before shows, after shows, you know what I mean? You know, like, and shirts and pants, right? But what was crazy was like, that was the same block as Hamilton. I had no idea where the billboard was. And then I get there and I'm like, yo, is this 46th Street? And I look down the block and I see Hamilton, and all I could do was just look up at the sky and be like, you laughing up there, right? You laughing. And because you can't plan that. It was wild. Like the place I started, basically the place where I got my start. You know, I wrote something like, I can't remember what I said, but it was, you got to know where you started to know to know or recognize where you're going. And it was amazing to see the place I'm going is on the same block as the place I started.
And it ties into the whole theme of the album, that first song, Dear Diary. Take me through writing that. It's incredibly personal. And how was it just to be that vulnerable through your music?
It was great because I let it all out. Yes. Now I'm not holding it in anymore. You know, I shared a lot on this album that like a lot of things that I didn't even share with people, like in my life, you know, and stories and, you know, and admitting things to myself that I may have been too ashamed to admit, right? Like a song like Figure It Out is about like loneliness. But, you know, I was like, you know, I want to write a song that embody that a song that the kid, the lonely kid in me wish he had, that he could listen to hopefully give him the courage to speak up and to say how he was feeling. Right, because it wasn't necessarily welcomed in my neighborhood or in my home, right, to speak freely about how I was feeling or what I was feeling. And not to say that my family isn't. My family's very loving and we talk a lot, right? But there's a deeper form of communication that goes into just. I felt like we did talk a lot, but sometimes in talking a lot, there wasn't a lot of listening happening. Right, and I think that happens sometimes, you know. And you talk to yourself, or you talk to your headphones talk to you, or your TV talks to you. Right, I'm all alone on my phone in my bedroom. Johnny swimming again in my headphones. I want to pray, but I put on the cable. I left a good book closed on the table. Right, I'm filling my mind with distractions, wasting my time on bad habits. I'm spending my nights with the Migos, stringing Casamigos, feeding my ego. Why am I pushing away what silence has to say? Why do I push through the day like tomorrow's gonna figure it out, like someone else will figure it out, right? So growing up like that, not really feeling like, I couldn't even talk to my friends, especially being men, right? You talk to your guy friends, right? Yo, today I feel kind of lonely. They'd be like, I don't know what to say to you, son. You feel lonely. What you want me to say? You know what I mean? I don't know. Go do some non-lonely, do something non-lonely. But yeah.
So it was therapeutic for you,
It
really,
was.
to get this stuff out.
Very, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm naming people on this album, like, and that's scary too.
You named some exes.
Exes. Oof.
Are those actual names?
That's their names.
Wow. Ooh.
Yikes.
Yikes.
But I had to do it. Like, it was like, I'm making this authentic, you know what I'm saying? And like, it is what it is. That's my reality. And everybody's living an all right life.
By the way, I will say that you are more talking about your actions and you know what I mean? So it's not
nothing about them.
Yeah, you're not hurting anybody.
It's about how I wasn't prepared for the love that they were giving me. It had nothing to do with something they did. It was how I failed, or how I'm grateful I'm grateful for the things they've taught me. I wrote a whole song, "Woman."
I was gonna bring that up.
That's a whole song about.
So that essentially is kind of like Beyonce's "If I Were a Boy," but you're kind of writing from like "If I Could Love Like a Woman."
Yeah.
So take me through writing from that perspective and why that was important for you to sort of express that.
Well, that song came because we were in the studio. I was in the studio with a few amazing songwriters like Johan Carlson, Ross Golan, Scott Jackson Morgan, and Amy Wage. Right, the one woman in the studio that day was there. She's from Wales. I think she had just gotten in a couple days ago, and we're just talking. And I had just met her, and she's talking about her husband and her kids, and I'm like, yo. And I didn't know what to write about that day. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, yo, I don't know what's going. I don't know what we're doing today, everybody. But she starts talking about her husband and her kids, and I'm just sitting back like this, and I'm just like, yo, we're gonna write about that. They're like, what? I'm like, we're gonna write about that kind of love, the love in which she speaks about her family. And I said, that's only a woman's love, that passion, that thing that goes further than what we see on the outside. You know what I'm saying? And then I said, what are all the ways I felt as a man that I couldn't understand? Sometimes we don't want to be open to something that we don't understand, right? And a woman's love is so deep that I think it could be intimidating, right? At least for me, right? In my experience, and in the lives of the men that have been around me. I'm not speaking for all men. I don't speak for all men. I always make that clear when I talk about this song, because some men be like, "What you mean? Like, I'm in touch with my feelings. What you talking about?" Like, I'm like, "Yo, I'm not talking about you, bro. This song's not for you. Then I'm sorry. It's not. This song's not for you. Remember, they're all personal stories. But personally speaking, as a man, I felt it's hard sometimes, right? I should have stayed, but I couldn't. A woman will stay. She'll be like, you acting crazy right now, but it's okay. We'll figure this out tomorrow. You being wild, but it's all right. I'll stay. We'll figure this out
Real wild.
tomorrow. Like, I should have spoke, but I wouldn't. A woman will speak. She'll be like, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's figure this out. Like, yes, I'm expressing to you how I feel because I actually want to get to the bottom of the issue so that way we can move forward. But we're like, yo, nah, I can't deal with it right now. I got to go out and get some air, clear my head. And she's like, no, let's talk about it. And you like, nah, man, she crazy. She talk too much. And it's like, she's not crazy, right? We just don't listen. We're not listening. And then it's like, I should have spoke, but I wouldn't. I did what I shouldn't. If I could have loved you like I was a woman, then maybe I would have loved you like crazy. But I did what I shouldn't. If I could have loved you like I was a woman, it's like I want to be the ground that you land on. I want to be the rock you can stand on. These are all traits of a woman's love. The ground you can land on, the rock you can stand on. I wish this love would go on and on and on, right? I think about the women in my life, that how they've loved me has been unconditional, like completely, right? I wish this love would go on and on, but I'm not around like we planned on. I did the thing that some of us do, right? Again, some of us men, not all, some. The thing I did, right? So that's how that song came.
Y'all hear these lyrics though? What is your process, and what song on the album kind of wrote itself that it just sort of poured out of you?
Wow, Mind Over Matter.
Yeah.
We wrote the song, and the producers were like, so I wrote that song with two amazing writers named Kennedy and Justin Tranter. and like basically like, you know, sometimes songs take forever. Like they'll take a whole day, sometimes 2 days, whatever, you know, however long, right? But this one came in like 3 hours. I'm talking the whole thing. I see you over there cooking while you over there looking like a 5 course. Like I'm over here writing I'm writing the verse, melodies. Kennedy's working on the melody. Justin's like, then Justin's putting the pieces together, and boom, 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 boom. We get here, and it's like, boom, we got a song. And you know, and it was so magical that it was so fast that the producers were still making the beat. Like we had the song written, and we were waiting for them to finish the beat. So we were just like eating food, talking about other things while they were continuing to make the beat. And then finally they finished it. And you know, and what was also amazing about this album, which doesn't happen usually, but which was dope about this process, was I recorded my final vocals that day. So for every single song, I recorded the final vocals for the song that day. So we wrote the song, and then I recorded the final vocals that day. All the stacks, all the backgrounds, all the everything. I just, you know, I was like, you know, me, do, re, mi, let's get it.
A little tea, a little lemon,
you know, a little tea and lemon. Let's, you know what I mean? And but Mind Over Matter kind of came pouring out. And Little Lies too, Little Lies. We made a really good team, Justin, Kennedy, and I, man. I was super grateful, and all the other writers, man. But those 2 days with them were really, really magical.
Yeah. So it's called The Good and the Bad, and you really in that song talk about the moments that made you, right? For better or worse.
Yeah.
Your career has seemed like a juggernaut. I mean, I see you working, working. But what have been the moments for you that were difficult or that you had to overcome? And then what were some of the highlights for you in those moments that really sort of spurred you to continue?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of difficult moments. I could definitely way more difficult moments than celebratory party-esque moments. There's no comparison really. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 other people. I shared a room with my boy and another, you know, there was a couple that lived in the living room, and then there was the bathroom. Like the living room and the kitchen were connected, and they were this big. And, you know, and then, you know, I lived in an apartment with that same roommate, finally had my own room, right? Eventually, and it was like, yo, like if I put my legs up against the wall when you walk in the door and I extended my arms back, I could almost touch the other side of the living room. Like it was like that. But you just keep going. You know, I was doing open calls, waiting in the blistering cold at 5 a.m. when I first started out auditioning for musicals, and you don't even know if you're gonna get seen. You know, it's like union jobs for a show at who knows what town, Ohio or wherever, right, or whatever, or New York, right? Like some town, it's not a Broadway show. Let's put it like that, right? And you're going and you're auditioning, and you want that because like you're like, yeah, I just want to do my art, but people won't see you because you're not union, or you ain't tall enough, or you ain't, you know, you look too young, or you look too old, or you got a goatee. They don't want to go there. Like, I promise I could cut it. They're like, nah. I'm like, you know, you know, and no one was in a rush to write a role for, you know, the young Latino, like, from who speaks like me and kind of looks like, nobody was in a rush. Like, can't wait to write the next lead role for him. So, you know,
You met Lynn, right?
and then I met Lynn. I mean, yeah, and that kind of changed the game for me. But it was, but yeah, I had a lot of hardships, man. You know, I worked at a bakery, and I worked at a preschool. I worked at an ice cream shop, closing shifts, $8 an hour, just to try, you know, so I can audition in the mornings. And I'm grateful for all of those jobs, because I'm grateful for everything that has happened to me, because I'm grateful for the good and the bad. You know what I'm saying? That's what this album is about, you know? And because if those things didn't happen to me, I don't know if I'd be sitting with you, and I don't know if this album would be a thing.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, once we got to the end of the album, Come Back Home, I did get a little emotional the first time I heard it, because I think anybody who has ever wanted more for themselves, who's had to leave home to search for a dream, has that feeling once they finally kind of get to a place of like, yeah, home is really where it's at, and you start to treasure those moments more. I mean, it completed this journey really, really beautifully. So what does that song mean for you?
That song that song means a lot to me. I mean, the last two songs and the first one are probably the most personal joints, you know. But you know, that song is really like when I explain it in the live show, right? When we do the live show, I tell these stories before every song. Before I do every song, sing every song in the live show, I'll talk about the song. I'll be like, all right, so this is what happened. I'll play the lyrics out. So people started calling it the spoken word section of the live show. They're like, yo, I really love the spoken word, though, the spoken word in between the songs, you know? And I'm like, you know, because I think when you see a show live, right, you want to see something different, or you want to listen, you want to hear something different than you can get on the record, right? So I try to do that in the live show. And I basically, when I talk about this particular song, I'm like, this is the song when this guy in our story, this character in our story is on his way home and he's on the plane, descending on the plane. And I was like, you know, what are all the things that make me feel at home? What are all the things that would make you come back home, right? And, you know, it's like, and all the things that made you run away in the first place, right? And my mama said, when I was 6 years old, I would always sit up by the window. I'd always say the city's way too cold. I wish there was another place I could go. She would ask where. I would say where, anywhere. Tell me where, because I'm scared if I'm here, then I'll never see paradise. I just want to see paradise. So I had to leave to see how good I had it, right? And then I go on, right, to talk about I was dating D for 3 years, right? I tell this story. Then I broke a promise because I had to go to college, thinking about my tomorrows, right? All the things the things in between, right, that would make me want to leave home or make me be like, maybe I should leave to find myself, right? But then I said, but why am I coming back? Because nothing's better than my mama's rice and beans or the sound of people yelling on the streets. The lights when I land at JFK, the cold wind when it hits me in my face. I only feel the ground under my feet when Jazzy's standing right there next to me. And those are things that make me feel at home. And that's the only paradise I know. So I had to leave to see how good I have it, you know. So I'm coming home. That's you know, so that song means everything to me because that song, I think, ties up the whole album. You know, it ends with a voicemail from my mom. And then it ends with the melody of the song at the top of the album, right? Because this guy in our story is replaying the melody that he sang at the beginning. And because he's back where he started. It don't matter where life leads me. If you call and say that you need me, I'll be coming home. I'll be coming home. You know what I'm saying? Right after the thing that makes me feel the most at home, which is my mom's voice. Yeah.
And I just love that because when I look at your career, it just continues to thrive. I mean, you have In the Heights coming out next year.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
Right? Are you guys excited for that?
Yeah, I'm so pumped. Yeah.
Summer of 2020. That was the first show I saw on Broadway. So I am pumped to see it. And I know you have like a history with that too. Like it was something that really you saw yourself in that musical.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does it mean to have this role?
That role really spoke to me because I thought about quitting. I thought about like not acting anymore because I was like, you know, kind of what we talked about earlier. Like no one was in a rush to write a lead role for me. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, maybe I should find something else to do. And but I watched that show and I was like, dang. And I'm sitting there, I'll never forget it. And, you know, my school, my college at the time was giving out tickets to the show. They had bought up a bunch of tickets. And I just took a little slip and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go check this out. I've been wanting to see it forever. And finally I'm sitting there and I was just like, I was so emotional because I was like, yo, I not only relate to those people on stage, but like, I know them. I know the Piragua guy. I know Usnavi, that's Leo from the store on Linden, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I know the Nina, I know the Vanessa, I know these characters, these people, these are real life people to me in my life that I could, you know, that I could pinpoint. Like, yeah, you remind me of that girl from high school, you remind me of this person from elementary, you remind me of this person from around the corner, you know, and they all look like me and sound like me, and I was like, all right, maybe I could do this. And so yeah, you know, sometimes all it takes is one song or one show or something to keep you going, you know, to give you that little bit of hope, and to keep you moving, man. So it was amazing. I sat there, I was like, all right, let's go. You know what? Let's get it. No excuses. Let's go for it.
You're having a lot of full circle moments at this point in your life.
Full circle,
right?
I mean, circles on circles.
Circles on
Just
circles on circles.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. We do have some questions before we
Yes.
get here. You got the first one?
Hi.
Hey.
How has your Latinx heritage influenced your entire career and, like, has ended up producing all of this?
Yeah, I mean, being a Latinx artist is special for me because, I grew up listening to all different types of music in different, in English and in Spanish, right? And you feel differently, right? When somebody can say the same thing somebody can say something in English and then somebody say it in Spanish and you're like, dang, it sounds so much better in Spanish, right? And getting to grow up that way was awesome because I got to explore that and we're doing these songs in Spanish, right? Like I'm recording a bunch of these songs in Spanish right now too, which I'm so excited about. And it's like, and I'm listening back, right? Like Woman we recorded and I was like listening back and I'm like, this song is so much better in Spanish. Yeah, like.
But I have to say the English version when you bring in the Spanish guitars, I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we still got the Spanish
still got
guitars,
it
but
in
it's like
there.
imagine you singing in Spanish and then you bring in the Spanish guitar, like you like, dang, you know what I'm saying? But growing up the way I did, and eating rice and beans and taking trips to Puerto Rico, and now I get to take more trips. I didn't get to take as many as I'd like as a kid because plane tickets are expensive. But thank God as an adult, I've gotten to go more often and I get to explore that. I get to explore where my ancestors are from. Like, like how did Puerto Rico even happen? Like, who, you know what I'm saying? Like, who came? Christopher Columbus. He got a statue. Why? Wasn't he killing all the Puerto Ricans, right? But like,
Why?
but
Yeah.
but I get to learn these things, and I think being Latinx is special because we got the adobo and the sazon, and I get to put that in my music, and I get to put that in everything I do, So I'm so proud to be of Puerto Rican descent, you know what I'm saying? And yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Who's got the next one?
What's up?
I was just wondering because seeing your live show and the vibe on stage that you have with your band, it's so like intimate and you guys are all connected. How did you get that? How did you find your band and how did you establish that kind of vibe on stage?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's you really it really comes down to like who you are as a person. There are a lot of talented musicians out there. A lot of people that could play the gig well too. But I think in my life that's such a good question because I was just having this conversation with Jasmine this morning. But it's like it's not only like can you play the gig, but are you a good person? Like, are you a person I want to be on tour with for like 3.5 weeks or 3 months or however long, right? However long we're going out, and it's really like it really comes down to that, Sometimes, and I'll say this proudly, like, right, like thank God my band is. I love them. I'm huge fans of all of them, and I think they're incredibly talented, right? But I wouldn't. But their talent ultimately was only a part of why we play together. It was probably a more important part was who they are as people, right? Like our drummer Al had a baby, and like Jasmine and I went to Al's wedding. Like, Elliot just got married. He's the newest addition to the band, but Elliot has become like we've embraced him like a brother. Like Zayla, our guitarist, Alex, Will, who plays keys for us, drove Zayla from Minneapolis to LA because they met each other there. And Will was like, "You're special. If you don't have a way to get to LA, don't worry about it. If you ain't, I don't know what's happening. I will take you to LA." Like, and basically like mentored him that way. I met Zay through Will. Will I met in Hamilton. Like it was all interconnected, but and then how amazing and how much of a blessing it is that we get to play together as a band. Like that's like the icing on the cake, and they're all amazing musicians. So you know what I'm saying? I rolled the dice and got the 7 and 11, like that was you can't make that up, but I think it's super important. It's super important to connect with the people you're on stage with. You know what I'm saying? Look them in the eye. We always say, I'm like, yo, everybody don't forget to have fun and look each other in the eye. Cause at the end of the day, we're on stage with each other, and we're doing a show, not for us but for them. But the more we're connected to each other, hopefully the more the audience will feel connected to us.
And you guys are launching a tour on November 1st, right?
On my birthday, November
Oh,
1st.
happy
the first.
birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, the first show is in Chicago on my birthday. So if you watching and you in the Chi, come celebrate my birthday with me. And then, we keep it pushing. Go Boston, Philly,
New York
Brooklyn.
back on November 6th, I think, right?
Yep, November 6th in Brooklyn. Yeah. Come through. And then we go to DC and we'll keep going from there. We'll go to the West, down south.
Where can people find the dates?
On my website, AnthonyRamosOfficial.com. AnthonyRamosOfficial.com. Yeah.
Anthony Ramos Official.
You know what I'm saying? 3 times if you ain't here.
Just want to make sure they get it.
You know what I'm saying? Let's go. We can never say it too many times.
Right here.
Doing.
What's up? What's up?
Is it on? Yeah. So hypothetically, if
Yeah.
you could choose between acting or singing, which one would it be?
I could never choose between acting and singing, because then I think I'd be doing myself a disservice. I love them both. It's where's the story at? If I read a script that inspires me, I'm like, nah, I'm trying to do that movie. I'm like, nah, I can't write for like, how long is this movie? 6 months? All right, yeah, I can't do no music for this. I gotta do this. But if this album needs to be written, then I'm like, yeah, I can't act for however long it takes to get this done. Or sometimes, the nice thing about music is though you can be shooting a movie and still listen to mixes. You can still, I was shooting music videos while I did In the Heights. I shot the Dear Diary while we was doing In the Heights. I shot the Good and the Bad while we did it. I was listening to mixes. We were mixing the album while I was in the movie. So in between takes, I'd be like, hold up, off to the side, like, we got to raise the volume on the bass. Hold up, and send the email real quick. They like, yo, everybody to set. I'm like, all right, bet, let's go. But I don't know if I could choose, because it's like, yo, why? Why choose when? Because there's so many amazing stories out there, and there's so many different ways to tell them. So if I chose, I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice. I'm like, nah, let's do it all. Let's do it all. Right now I'm doing music, and if an amazing script comes and I get to do that, then I'll do that. But for now, let's get it popping with this tour.
And it's working for you to do both. I'm
Yeah.
curious, how often do you and Jasmine sing at home together? Because she is one of the most beautiful singers I've ever heard.
Angelic
Right.
tones.
Are you guys just like waking up in the morning just harmonizing?
Nah, she be singing, but she be fooling around in the crib. Like, she don't, But something that is really dope is our dog sings with her. That Jasmine's voice is the only voice our dog will sing with. Like, people have come in, people were playing around in the house singing, whatever. But our dog only sings to Jasmine's voice, either if it comes through the speaker or Jasmine, it doesn't have to be live. Or Jasmine will sing live and Nala will be like, she'd do the whole thing. But I'm not gonna lie, I was mad hype for the first time. We was playing Mind Over Matter in the crib after the 80th time listening to it. And finally her ears came up and she started howling to my voice. And I was like, that's right, Jazz. She don't only sing to you. No, but it's really cute. Like, but Jasmine, she be singing in the crib. Her voice is amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life.
And before we wrap up, you guys have all this stuff going on. Is there a wedding date coming up next year? How are you guys fitting everything in? Because she's also very busy.
Very.
Yeah.
We don't have a date yet because, we don't have a date yet. We got to pick a venue, and then once you pick the venue, then you ask them what's available, and and then once you get that, then you'll get a date. We'll get a date. So we're not in a rush really to get to pick a date. But I think it's we got to find the right venue first. And once we do that, then we'll have a date. But I'm sure the Instagrams probably Instagram won't know because we can't invite all of Instagram to our wedding. So, but we'll have a date soon. Okay. Yeah.
I had to ask for the people in the YouTube comments for the music video, because everybody after seeing y'all together was like, when is this, like, they ship you so hard.
Oh, yeah. Can you explain to me what ship? Can you explain to me what that is?
So ship is taken from the word relationship.
Oh.
And so if somebody ships you, it means they really support your union.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yo, because I've been seeing this for years, and I'm like, what is this? What we ship you? I'm like, what do you ship?
Yeah.
What are you talking about, yo? Like, but I get it now.
Yeah.
Relationship.
Relationship.
Yes.
It just means
Forgive
people
me.
love y'all together, which is a beautiful thing.
Thank y'all for shipping us. Thank you so much. I might write a song
Anthony,
called Shipping.
I cannot express how much I love this album. It really is just,
Thank you, Brittany.
it was a joy to listen to, and I've been listening to it on repeat. And you guys, if you're not listening to it, I don't know what you're doing. It is streaming now. It is available. So go on
AnthonyRamosOfficial.com.
AnthonyRamosOfficial.com. Put your hands together for Anthony
Thank
Ramos.
y'all. Thank y'all.